Hey everybody, I'm Mama Baird and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a couple of different ways to elevate some box side dishes. I'm going to start with some stuffing mix. Now I have heard that you can add this to meatloaf and it works really well, but I haven't tried it yet. So that's what we're going to try today. We're going to take several pounds of meat and add this to it and kind of stretch it out. Now there is a challenge going around. It's called the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge, and that's hosted by Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead. Now I'm not going to be participating fully in this challenge because I'm still going to be bringing food in. It usually consists of not going to the grocery store at all and just eating down your pantry and what you have preserved over the last summer and over the winter. However, I do feel like now is not the right time to be depleting my pantry. I am trying to get a good stockpile built up, so in case anything happens for inflation prices, I have a stockpile. So currently being able to add to my stockpile, I don't want to deplete it, but I do like the idea of making pantry meals on what you have on hand and what you need to get used up and out of your house. So I will be participating in that regard. I have several boxes of stuffing here that has the best by date of 2021, so I'm gonna get these used up. I also cleared out my little freezer that's in the bottom of my fridge freezer in my kitchen, and any meat that I had in there, because I currently just got a used deep freezer, so I'm making that my meat freezer. So any meat that I had in here, random bits, I'm going to just use up and whip up a couple of different meatloaves and have one for dinner tonight, as well as have a couple in the freezer if I get enough for a couple. If not, then at least one. So that's kind of my plan on my first meal. So let's get down here and I'll show you what meat that I have thawed that I need to use up, what I'm going to include in here, and how we do it. So let's get in here and I'll show you what to do. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Carolina and I live in Montana. I do a lot of food bank hauls, pantry cooking, and canning and preserving on my channel. If that's the kind of content you're into, I hope you'd consider subscribing. I would love to have you join my family. All right, let's get in here and get into this meatloaf. All right, what I was able to fit into this bowl was 2 pounds of elk, 2 pounds of sausage, regular pork sausage, and this is Italian sausage, and then 5 pounds of hamburger, beef hamburger. So a total of about 9 pounds of meat in here, so we'll be able to get a couple of meatloaves. I'm gonna add some Worcestershire sauce for some flavor. I'm gonna add 5 eggs to this. So I'm gonna add my 2 boxes of stuffing mix here. And then here I have some mustard pickles that I made last year. This is zucchini, cucumber, cauliflower, onion in here, and then you just like make a mustard, a brine, and then you put it in there and it's like pickled mustard flavored veggies, which sounds good because I love mustard and I love pickled veggies, but I do not like this. I feel like it's too mustardy. So I found that it works great in meatloaf though, but my veggies are still a little big. So I'm going to break those up with my emulsion blender here. I'm gonna open that up. It smells good. They're just, I don't know, it's just really mustardy. A lot of other people do like these pickles. So that's what made me want to try them. I was looking to use up a couple more of my random veggies here. This is very vinegary. Woo! Which, the combination of the vinegar and the mustard is just, whoo, a lot of vinegar. Maybe I did them wrong. It's possible. So with this being like salty and vinegary, I'm not going to add any salt to this, but I am going to kind of puree these veggies a little bit, and then we'll add this in here. This thing has a button here that you gotta press to release it. I do wish it was easier to release. Like I just got mustard everywhere. Friggin' oh. Alright, so I'm just gonna add all of that to it. Yeah, that worked great, dicing up those veggies. So they're not big chunks of veggies in the meatloaf, you know. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of ketchup to this as well. gonna go ahead and get my pans lined up, ready to go. I have 2. I think I'm gonna make 3 meatloafs out of this. We'll see how it goes. So let's get this mixed up. I like to call this the twist and fold method, where you're grabbing the side of it, folding it down into the middle, and pushing it in there. This is really a good way to get your meats and all your fillings nice and incorporated, and make sure that everything's distributed evenly. Just take your time and keep on folding. Then I washed my hands and remembered I had some cooked peppered bacon in the fridge, so I'm just going to throw that in there to get that out of it as well. Get that out of my fridge. Because everything's better with bacon, right? Okay, that's pretty good. Separate it. Oh, it smells good. All I'm doing here is just shaping it into a loaf. Some people will have their meatloaves completely flat and take up the whole bottom of their pan. I like to kind of shape it in a loaf, make it a little thicker, so that way we can use it for slice sandwiches the next day, because nothing's better than a cold meatloaf sandwich. What do you guys like to do? I ended up getting 3 meatloaves, so I have 1 that I'm going to just wrap up, and we're gonna have this for dinner tonight. I have a day out and about planned, so I will not be able to start this till later, but now it's prepped, it's ready to go, now that I have some time to do it, so then I don't have to worry about doing this while also trying to start dinner when I'm tired from the day. And then I'm going to saran wrap these. Well, first I'm gonna cover the top in foil and make sure that that's really nice and tight. I might do 2 layers, and then I'm gonna wrap it in saran wrap, and these are going in my freezer, just so the next time that I need a quick meal, or if I want just to use up a meatloaf so I don't have to cook for that day and then have some leftovers, I can do that. You know, if you're doing it and you're making a batch, might as well make some extra and set yourself up for success. Make extra, put it in your freezer, have a couple of freezer meals or have a lot of freezer meals, and keep yourself stocked so that way you're not tempted to stop and get takeout, or you don't have to run to the store and grab an ingredient for a recipe or something, because you have stuff in your freezer prepped, ready to go, especially if you're going to be participating in the pantry challenge. That's a good tip to have. Alright, so I'm going to get to this and then I will bring you back when it's time to bake it. Alright guys, it is dinner time, so I'm just going to, I just wanted to show you what it looked like. I'm going to wrap it back up, and I'm going to be cooking it at 400 degrees, and I'm going to put it in there for 45 minutes. So this is what it looks like after 45 minutes. That's an awfully lot of grease, so I'm going to dump it out, and yep, 3, 2, 1, yep, look at that, smooth, I know, but that's okay. I wanted to get that, oh yeah, almost knock it over again. Classy. So just, yeah, let me wipe this up real quick. Just, nothing to see here, nothing to see. All right, so I'm going to top it up with ketchup. Some people do ketchup and brown sugar mixed together. I like just ketchup. That's what I've always done. You know, this bottle was almost empty, so might as well finish the whole thing. And this is just going to go back into the 400-degree oven for 15 more minutes. And this is what it looks like when it's all done. It's nice and bubbly. I'm not making any sides or anything for this video, but this is what it looks like, and it's quite delicious. I hope you guys give this a try, and let's move on to the next meal. For this dinner, I'm going to be utilizing a side of pasta brownie. It's the angel hair with just the herb one. This is a good way to stretch out one of these side pre-made dishes. So I'm doing this, and then I have 2 chicken breasts here I'm going to dice up, some frozen broccoli, and then some seasoning salt and some za'atar seasoning, and that's all that I'm going to be using for this. All I'm doing is putting some bacon grease in my skillet, and I'm going to get that heating up so I can get my chicken cooking. All I'm going to do for this chicken is just to slice and dice it into bite-sized pieces, and then we're going to cook it in the cast iron skillet. I'm just doing these into bite-sized pieces. You can cut the chicken breast in half lengthwise if you wanted to do that as well, but I feel like this works out just fine for me. So now that I have my big pile of diced chicken, those just those 2 breasts, I'm going to be seasoning these, and I'm just going to do this on my cutting board. First thing I'm going to be putting on there is some za'atar seasoning blend. I believe this is a Middle Eastern one, and I'm just trying to use it up. I have it in my pantry, and it's a good addition to the herbs in the pasta, so I'm using that. And then some seasoning salt. I don't use seasoning salt too much actually. However, I happen to have some in my cupboard and I'm trying to use up all my spices that I can, so I'm going to use it today. And that's part of the pantry challenge, is using up anything that you have that you need to get rid of, including these spices. So that's one thing that I'm really trying to do and challenge myself this time, is to try my different spices that I have and try new combinations. You never know what you might like. So I'm just pre-mixing all this up. My bacon grease is getting hot and it's melting in my cast iron skillet. This is a 10-inch skillet, by the way. I have this linked below if you're interested in getting into cast iron cooking. I absolutely love mine and pretty much cook everything in my skillet. So whenever you're cooking it in your fat of choice, you don't want to crowd your pan. That is a really big no when it comes to getting a good sear on things, is you don't want to crowd it, because then it kind of turns more into you boiling the meat than you searing the meat. So just a couple, if you got to do a couple batches, no big deal. Take your time, make sure you're doing it right. So we're just going to let this cook for probably about 3 to 4 minutes per side so it could get a nice sear. This is the point where I'm going to start to flip this chicken. I like to tell when it needs to be flipped by how much white starts creeping up the sides of the chicken. Like, you could tell the color difference. So once it gets to be about 1/3 to half a way up there is when I like to flip it. Now remember, I'm not cooking this all the way. I'm just trying to get a sear, so you can do a little less if that's what you're going for, because this is going to be boiling with all of the other ingredients with the pasta, so I don't want to make sure this is cooked all the way, that way it doesn't get overcooked. While that finishes cooking just for a couple more minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get my liquid set up for what I need for this pasta. So it's just 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 1/3 cup of water, and then 2/3 cup of milk. Let's get this chicken off. It's been on for a couple more minutes and it is all done. So I'm going to get this pulled off and then we'll get all of our ingredients measured and get another round of chicken going. Now that the meat is pulled off, I'm just going to put another round on there. This one is a little more overcrowded than it was in the previous round, but that's okay. I think it'll still be fine and it'll sear really nicely. Now on the milk, I am using my home canned milk. If you guys are interested in learning how to can your own milk, I can leave that linked below. I'm just using whatever I have left over from this quart in my fridge, and then I'm going to be adding the rest of the water to it. Now that I have that all measured out, I'm going to go ahead and give this chicken a flip. Look at that nice golden sear on it. That's what I'm talking about, making sure when you guys brown your meat, you want to actually get it browned. Like, you want that caramelized, crispy bits on it. That's where all the flavor is. So we're going to give this one last flip and then we'll let this cook for a couple more minutes and then all of our chicken will be done. Now that this chicken is almost to the point where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and add in my 2 tablespoons of butter just to my milk and water mixture here and get that all mixed up. Take your last little bit of chicken out because we are going to use the milk and the water to deglaze the pan and get all those little crispy bits off the bottom of the pan. That is a lot of flavor as well, so you always want to make sure that you take the time to get that scrubbed off. So I'm just going to go ahead and add all the liquid to this and then get it up to temperature. Now it's starting to heat up a little bit, the butter's starting to melt, and they're getting a little bit of bubbles on the side of the pan. So this is a good time that we're going to add the sauce packet. You can also add this in while you're whisking in the milk and the butter if you prefer to do it that way. Now that I have that all mixed in, I'm going to go ahead and pour in the angel hair pasta that comes in the pack and just make sure that all of that is pushed down and covered under the liquid. Now that that is all covered, I'm going to go ahead and add in all of the chicken. You could just do 1 chicken breast if you just want a small amount. Remember, I'm feeding 5 people right now, so I have to have quite a bit, and it's always nice to have leftovers to send for husband's lunch or whatever for me to eat. And then I have the broccoli here. I'm just going to put the bag, I ended up putting the whole bag on there. I'm just going to spread it around a bit and let it kind of steam to cook it. Alright, I'm going to put the lid on it. I have this on at about a 4 to 5 right now, and I'm just going to let that cook. The box says about 8 minutes, but I'm going to let it cook for about 10. And of course I got a Yoda showing up because she heard the plastic thinking it was cheese. After the 10-minute mark, it was still kind of runny, probably because I had a lot of juices in there from the chicken, plus the ice from the broccoli was in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a cornstarch slurry, which is just cornstarch and water mixed together. Make sure it's room temperature or cold water. And then we're going to add this to our pot, and that's going to thicken up that liquid. You can see how quickly this starts to thicken up. As soon as that cornstarch hits that heat, it activates and starts thickening stuff. I really like cornstarch slurries, guys. I feel like it's a quick, easy way to get something thickened without really having to put much time or thought into it. So I'm gonna thicken this up and then she's ready to go. Now all I gotta do is get this scooped out and fed to the kids. And they gobbled this up, guys. They really liked this. Just the combination of chicken and broccoli with Alfredo sauce. It's just a classic. And this is a good way to elevate one of those side prepackaged boxes that you get. I'm gonna top it with a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese. And then that's dinner. Now let's move on to the next dinner. For dinner tonight, I have some of this rice-a-roni, the stir-fry rice, that Best Buy 1021, so I need to get this out of my cupboard. So I'm going to be making this, and I have a little bit of elk and Italian sausage mixed together, pre-cooked, that I need to use up. Oh, that's a venison, sorry. And then I have some peppers and onions I'm going to cook. They're in the back of my fridge, so they got frozen. First thing I'm going to do is put down a little bit of bacon grease. I'm going to put it on like a 7. I'm going to go ahead and salt some of this, thaw out some of that moisture. I'm going to add a little bit of butter to this now. And then we're going to add our rice and we're going to toast it. So we'll pack it in here, seasoning. I'm making beef and rice. Thanks. And then you're just going to toast this rice. And it's actually rice and angel hair pasta. So rice and roni, like rice and macaroni. So we're going to just toast this. Oh, I'm sorry. Vermicelli pasta is actually what kind it is. I'm just going to toast these till it's brown. I'm going to get 4 cups of water ready. I have just a little bit of turkey stock, about a little over a cup, that I need to use up in my fridge. So I'm just going to add the water to it and add some flavor to this. You can see right there that's starting to get some color. So we want just everything to kind of get a golden brown color. It's starting to get some good brown color to it. So I'm going to add the stock. I think I'm going to add the meat at this point too. Add your sauce packets. Now we're just going to bring this up to a boil and then reduce it down really low and let it cook and simmer for about 20 minutes. This is starting to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to like a 3.5 or 4. Put the lid on it and set a 20-minute timer. And that's all we're doing. Alright. This is open. Oh, looks good. We're just going to fluff this up and this is all we're having. Something super simple. Husband's running late today, so I had to get this going. As you can hear, the kids are all wound up. Hopefully they'll eat this and pass out, right? Looks pretty good. Alright, so we're going to let this cool down and then we're going to eat up. That's what's for dinner. That's a couple of different ideas of what you can do to take a simple side and elevate it to make a whole entire dinner. What are some different ways that you elevate sides and what do you like to do? Please let me know in the comments below. I also have a Facebook group where we share all different kinds of recipes and it's just overall a good support group. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time on Mama Bears.